Welcome into another edition of the Guru's Survivor Reactions. A full Guru boat this week. Mike, and Theo here. After Survivor 50's episode 5, finally a double elimination. We were wondering last week, when the hell are these people about to get off the island? But finally, we got a few answers this week. We're still a little bit ahead of schedule here as far as like how many people are just going to stick around. But regardless, a fun episode of Survivor this week. I just want to get into something right off the bat, though, that I was complaining about before we got on air. And it's the editing of the show that I just don't understand. Last week was a terrible episode. It is the worst rated episode in the history of Survivor on IMDb because it was basically Zach Brown with a side of Survivor. It was just totally garbage. And this week was excellent because guess what? We got to watch Survivor. Shocking what happens there. But because of last week's debacle, it feels like we've skipped a few chapters. And this has been the theme of this season where we're jumping from point A to point C. And I'm just looking around, where the hell was point B? Case in point. For some reason, we saw D wanting to work with Cirie. But 2 weeks ago, she was trying to get Cirie out. She said as much to Jonathan. She says, you know who I'm terrified of is Cirie. And my friends back home were telling me that, hey, you can't be wooed by Cirie. She's going to sink her fangs into you. She's going to do the Cirie thing. And guess what happens? She has mass amnesia, and all of a sudden, she's in this girls' alliance with Rizo. And I'm like, how the hell did we get here? We skipped something, surely. There had to have been a conversation. I don't know. The editing just feels all out of whack, and that's my opening take this week, that as good as the season's been, I'm just losing my mind with the editing. Sorry for jumping the gun there, Mike. I want to get your thoughts right off the bat on this week's episode. Just start us off. Take us wherever you want to go. What stood out this week?
Oh, well, I mean, just real quick on that point, we talked about Cirie being in a bad spot. You guys were like, if they are to lose a tribal council, or if they are to go to tribal council, she would be in big trouble because we got that confessional of D and that moment with her and Jonathan. And then it looked like we just missed everything in episode 4. It was all about Zach Brown, and somehow along the lines, she was wooed by Cirie because now she's in a voting block with Cirie. So I don't know how we got there. Ultimately, Cirie, no one even talked about her today. It was like no one wants to get Cirie out. It was a stark 180 from the last time we even saw Sela, strategizing about who they want to pick off first. Cirie's name came up a lot. This episode came up absolutely nothing. Like we didn't get anyone. I want Cirie out. But I wanted to start out with Vaatu because this is where I've been most intrigued this season. We've gotten the most of Vaatu this season, probably because Ozzy, Christian, and Emily have been at every single tribal council. And the fallout, I really wanted to see how the fallout would be back at camp. And we got an angry Ozzy back at the Vaatu beach with him kind of going scorched earth, saying he's so confused as to why Mike White's gone. Christian, this was an interesting point. I want to get both of your takes on this. Christian making the comparison of Ozzy going scorched earth on Cochran back in South Pacific when Cochran blindsided Ozzy and left him out of a vote. We all know how that ended for both of them. Obviously, Ozzy went out next, but he won his way back in the game, and Cochran was obviously duped later on by Coach and the crew. But, Christian, me personally, I'm struggling to understand why he did not think that this would, damage control with Ozzy is not somewhere I would want to be personally as a player. Like, why leave Ozzy out of the vote? I know they didn't need his vote, but stuff back at camp you knew was going to get a little hairy with Ozzy being blindsided for the first time in almost a decade. Like, that just doesn't seem like good strategy to me to leave one of your most important votes at the beach in the dark.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for Christian. I started out really hot. Looked like him and Devins were just gonna play an awesome game together. And then the tribe swap happens, and then I was kind of like, I still think he's playing a good game. He's gotten stuck with some bad people, which might sink his game. But this episode, if he went home, which I really thought he should have gone home, it would have been a good time to get him out. I thought he was going out. It would have been his fault. He played sloppy. He seemed so shocked that Ozzy was angry about being left out of a vote. That's not the most important part of this game. And having trust in the game is being let in on plans and voting with other people. So with someone that's he makes brilliant reads all the time. I don't know how that took him by surprise, and I really thought it was kind of going to cause his whole game to unravel, but we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, and forgive me, I don't remember where I got this from. I don't remember if it was Mike White exit press or if it was someone analyzing the situation. I really don't. So credit to whoever said this originally, but there's this disconnect with Christian as far as this game bot, if you will, where he doesn't really calculate emotions into his plans. And I think that's detrimental for him. And we mentioned a few weeks back about how he struggles to kind of meet the other person at where they're at. Sometimes it's his vernacular with the words he's using, and sometimes it's just emotionally as well, where he just doesn't seem to factor that in. And this is a personable game at the end of the day. It's all about strategy, but part of that is navigating human emotion. And him and Flippin simply cannot do that all of a sudden. And at least Christian has shown the ability at one point to do that. We saw it with John Morrison, of all people, on David versus Goliath, where him and John were the brochachos, and somehow Christian was able to woo over this pro wrestler, right? Here, we're not getting that at all. Every move Christian makes, it feels like someone's annoyed with him, the way he handles it. And granted, like, you're going to have to blindside people. It is Survivor. But you could have handled this a little bit better. And look, he was going to have to leave Ozzy out of the vote. That was obvious, because if Ozzy was clued in, Ozzy and Mike White are apparently better friends than Mike White and Christian are. So he would have stayed loyal to his pal there, and something would have changed. Maybe they would have tried to flip the vote on Christian last second, pull Stephanie in, whatever. So that was a good calculation. But the flip side is not kind of laying it on a little bit thicker to Ozzy about what happened. It seemed like, hey, man, like, sorry, it happened. Oops, my bad. I just don't think he's able to navigate these waters like he did in his first go-round.
Well, we talked about this last week, of this idea of living at tribal council every single week. And him and Flippin, it seemed like, I know they're not trying to lose these challenges, but they don't necessarily hate going to tribal council. They want to keep pulling these big moves, these fast ones. And this was the first vote where they did leave Ozzy in the dark, but you can't then expect back at camp to not have to do damage control. Like, going to tribal council this many times in a row, eventually you're going to have some damage control that you just unfortunately cannot cover up. And you're dealing with actual people. And I think the emotion thing you brought up was a good point, because Ozzy's the kind of person that you really don't want to, mistrust or, breach his trust with. Like, you can leave people out of votes, that's fine. Tony Vlachos did it plenty of times. He was the ultimate damage control guy back at camp. He'd talk his way back into being in their good graces. Christian didn't really do that. He was almost like, I'm surprised that Ozzy's so upset about this. He's acting like a baby, and I just can't believe he's acting like this. It's just a vote. Like, in this game, it's not really that. There are also emotions at play. They're not just all chess pieces, and I think he has to kind of balance you're working with people here. It's not just, the numbers, what the numbers say, and obviously the numbers said that you not use Ozzy's vote, but you also might need Ozzy's vote at the next tribal council, because he might be the one in the power position at the next one. That's why I did not like the move of getting rid of Mike White, but if you're going to pull off that big of a move, you have to be ready for the blowback back at camp, and I don't think he was.
You have to do future calculus. Like, if you're gonna leave Ozzy out of this vote, you have to feel comfortable about going into the next vote without him. Like, you might be losing him permanently. And you saw, like, just like that, it was flipped, and like he needed Ozzy in this tribal, or it might have been Christian going home, and he was, I guess, do we think he like won? Like, he gave up his shot in the dark. He got through this vote. I still don't think Ozzy trusts him, and I think Christian's now kind of out of a power position on this tribe. So I just don't like where he ended up at all.
The fact that he had to give up a shot in the dark tells you right there he's now in a desperation mode, because he did not want to do that. It was a last resort to save himself over Angelina, someone that Ozzy already wanted out.
Which I can't believe that worked. I thought he was just going to get voted out anyway
after
giving it up, but.
Yeah, I mean, Christian lost last week when he voted out Mike White, because that was a purely emotional decision, which we're believed to be was rooted from a comment about Christian's former shortcomings in David versus Goliath, and that ticked him off. And he saw right there that Mike White trying to manipulate him showed that he was so dangerous that he had to be voted out imminently. When on the flip side, what could have happened was Christian could have aligned with Mike White and Angelina, did the David versus Goliath thing. Mike White has the connection with Ozzy. You have that strong force. Stephanie's there as kind of a buffer. If things go south next tribal, you can just vote her out afterwards. But if so, you just cut bait with Flippin, who all she's done this entire game is bring you down. That's all she's done. She's not better than you whatsoever. You are playing to her level. And now Flippin is making this connection with Ozzy. She seems to be in a little bit better footing now. And Christian is the one taking a back seat and on the outs, and the one in danger of being voted off. And I want to second what Theo said. I think this was another bad move from Vatu. They just are one bad move after another. This was clearly the time to get rid of Christian. He's being way too sloppy right now. And perhaps his sloppiness is why they kept him around, because they just figure like, hey, he's all over the place. Like, eventually this is going to blow up on him. We'd rather get Angelina out right now before she's able to cause chaos. Christian's not necessarily that type of player. But I want to remind you that clearly Vatu is shrinking in numbers rather quickly. We know now in hindsight, because we just saw the preview, that there's going to be some sort of merge, which we're not totally buying, but clearly something's going to be shaken up next week, right? Why wouldn't you get out Christian before he can link up with Devins and Aubrey and all these people that he can connect with? Because Christian is so personable with his own crowd. He might not be able to make new connections, but with who he already has like prior relationships with, he's in their good graces very much so. So I just don't understand that move whatsoever.
I think he's fortunate to still be here. I would second that. I think that he's fortunate that his relationship with Emily is obviously much stronger, and there's still something there at least to where she's willing to keep him around. Who would have thought that Emily was one of possibly having to save Christian's game? Ozzy as well. While there is some mistrust, maybe giving him his shot in the dark was some kind of, hey, let's try to repair this thing. It's decent work when you're on the bottom, but it's still desperation. Ultimately, Angelina had nothing to offer. Like, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I guess the devil we know is better than the devil we don't know. We had an original tribe alliance with Emily and Christian. I'm talking about from Ozzy's point of view. Like, he's been at every single tribal council with Emily and Christian. He's wanted Angelina out since the tribe swap. So it's maybe one of those things where it's like, we can both get what we want here while I'm getting some leverage on you. But ultimately, this would have been, Christian's own doing. I think he's fortunate that the people he's working with are not the kind of players that maybe we are, because I think if it was me, I probably would have turned around and just voted Christian out.
Yeah, if you're seeing a merge coming, which I guess obviously they didn't,
They can't,
Angelina's
right?
a way more solid number than Christian.
Yeah, but you got to
point.
see a shakeup coming, right? Like, they're just clearly dwindling down a bit too much. You have to know something's on the horizon here.
Yeah, because their tribe's down to what, 4?
4, yeah.
So they've been so bad that now they have to shake things
They'll
up.
shake it up. Yeah, 100%. So I guess it's like one of those things where, Christian, for the next vote, if you're Ozzy, you're saying, I have my old school alliance with Steph, and then I'm kind of got Emily here. I have my idol. Christian's kind of cut the knees. That's the logic I'm thinking. And ultimately, I think they decided that they just can't trust Angelina. It was like Angelina was just we got rid of Mike White. Angelina's out the door next. That's the only thing I can really think of, because Christian really had the sloppy episode here.
But it really has to derive from David versus Goliath, because we didn't really see any reason for Angelina not to be trusted here. I feel like that was all reputation based, right? We barely saw her, unless there was stuff we were missing. Like, she was barely on the screen.
No, Angelina put it. Yeah, Angelina put on her Instagram stories that Christian really, the second that they tribe swapped, Christian never really trusted Angelina. It was more like Mike was the bridge of both of them. That's what she put on Instagram stories. She was like, I never felt like we were like, she said that she felt she was on shaky grounds with Christian to begin with. That's why I'm surprised for last tribal. Why didn't they just go out and get rid of Angelina last tribal? Like, why did Christian feel the need to get rid of Mike White first, Angelina second, when he had no relationship with Angelina, and getting rid of her first would have been no blowback? That's why I'm trying to figure out the logic of, did Christian think 2 steps ahead, or was he just so gung ho on getting Mike White out?
No, I'm trying, because he would have. Yeah, because you want to tear that apart. But then
you could have put them up and just got Angelina out, and then Ozzy's appeased, and Mike White's still dangerous, but you kind of cut his number 1 out.
Because I think he was worried about the Mike White Ozzy thing, but then he ruined his own connection with Ozzy when he got Mike White out without including him in it.
Not to mention his own connection with Mike White, which we thought was stronger than apparently he did. So
yeah. So
and
now
Mike White, for that matter, according to his exit press, he was pretty stunned about it. So.
He was shocked, absolutely. That's why I'm saying with the Christian vote out of Mike White, we said the house was burning down with his relationships around him. Like, he's attached himself with Emily. He's pissed off Ozzy. I think Stephanie, that was like a 1-vote thing. Even Stephanie comes up to Ozzy. He's like, she just convinced me that Mike White was too dangerous. But I don't think that was like he and Stephanie aren't like tight, because they voted together in one tribal. Angelina, obviously, he just voted out Mike White, so he and Angelina have no trust. He and Ozzy have no trust. He's going down the Emily ship, and we said at the time, we're like, that's not the one I would choose to die on. That's not the hill I would want to die on if I was Christian. But he's in a situation now where it's like him and Emily are quarterbacking this tribe, and it doesn't look like it's going very.
Well, and if we merge, we're about to get Emily now on another beach where she's going to run around and tell people everything.
Everything.
So, well, yeah, we'll see how that goes for our boy Christian.
She's not playing a winning game, but she's playing a game. I'll tell you that. Like,
Got it.
it's one of the strategies I've ever seen. I don't totally understand what she's trying to accomplish, but it's entertaining, I guess. Like, it is kind of a funny bit that every single time someone tells her something, she has to tell someone else. Like, it is a pretty good game of telephone we're going on. I do want to mention something real quick before we move on here. Kind of like Stephanie's game right now. I didn't think I'd be saying this, but I think Stephanie is doing a good job of being adaptable. I think she was cut out at the knees when her initial alliance with Genevieve, Kyle, and Colby was ruined because Kyle was unfortunately medevaced. And then furthermore, we were talking last week about how Genevieve has been screwed over twice. Inherently, that also means Stephanie has been screwed over twice as well, because it'd be much more beneficial to her game if instead of, what is it, Ozzy and
Aubrey
who's
or Rizo.
Rizzo, right? Yeah, Aubrey and Rizzo, instead of them having idols, Genevieve having two, that'd be way more, better for her
Beneficial.
game, right? So I think what she's able to do now, away from all of those people, on a beach with Christian and Flippin, and kind of navigating their weirdness, right, and their chaos, but also still staying tight with Ozzy and kind of leaving the door open for this OG alliance that, we've kind of made fun of a bit, but there's a lot of OGs left, man. There's a
There is.
lot of OGs left, and if they link together, I guess they could do something if they trust each other, right? So I just kind of like how Steph's been malleable, and I didn't really think she had that in her.
I didn't either. By the way, there's way more OGs left than I thought going in. I said we did our 10 questions. I thought the new era would have them up. The game has passed them by, but Steph's been really good so far. And also, you didn't mention the point where Q also went home and she was left out of the vote. That could be, alarm bells going off. She could have went scorched earth like Ozzy did and, burned some relationships. But ultimately, she was like a free agent and she was able to bounce back from that, get in on the Mike White blind side, yet didn't piss off Ozzy to the point where he wants to break trust with her. So she's been able to navigate things in these damage controls way better than a Christian or Emily have so far. So that's really impressive, especially for an OG player.
Yeah, she's done a really good job, I think, working from the bottom on this tribe, and now we'll have a chance to make some new relationships on the next beach. Whereas Flippin is like, she's playing the middle, but in a way that she's not driving or dictating or deciding any votes, which is usually when someone's in the middle and flip-flopping, they are actually determining votes. She's just not.
Feel like she's playing the middle, but she's also so translucent. Like, everyone knows what side she's still on at the end of the day, but she's trying to pretend like she can go back and forth. I'm just not buying it. And I don't really think anyone else is either. I think they're just kind of putting up with it and thinking perhaps they can get her on their side if, like, they need to. I just don't really see the need for her to be around much longer for any of these people's games. I feel like all she's doing is being detrimental.
This triangle of her, Christian, and Ozzy, who have been to every single tribal council, it's almost like everything Christian tells Emily, she'll relay to Ozzy, and everything Ozzy tells Emily, she'll relay to Christian. So it's like, I don't understand if she's trying to be the bridge between those two, who clearly don't trust each other right now anymore. But it just doesn't seem like it's like no one's buying it. Like, she's, like you said, she is so translucent to her. It's like everyone kind of knows her game at this point. She can't keep her mouth shut. So as an ally, do you want to tell that person too much information knowing it could spread around the camp like wildfire? I personally would not. I think they're just putting up with her because, like, right now the numbers are very slim. They're looking at, like, okay, who do I have no working relationship with? I guess Angelina was that person today. And who scorned me the most? Christian would have been that person for multiple people. Like, Christian scorned Angelina the most. Christian scorned Ozzy the most. Emily's kind of just there creating chaos, but not really affecting everyone else's, like, it's affecting everyone else's game, but no one's really that hurt by Emily. As far as, like, no, the perception here is that Christian's quarterbacking this tribe, not Emily. So the blowback is more on him than her.
Yeah, which, I mean, for a guy that didn't want the idol stink, the stink of running the game so far, I think is far worse. But
Yeah,
I guess he hasn't yet figured that one out. We got to transition to Coach here, who had a fun episode where he is just full coach. He approaches Joe. By the way, I thought we did this already. I thought we already did the Coach Joe Colby thing. I don't know if this is kind of, working backwards. I don't know. Back to the bad editing here, I suppose. But we get Coach giving Joe a name, which is the Stone Bell Monk. and then knights him afterwards. And then Colby is the oak-bound warrior. And I did a quick Google search. Neither of these names like exist. Like there isn't a thing called the Stonebell Monk or Oakbound Warrior from what I could find. He just made that up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is Coach doing what we thought Coach would do, which is kind of, in a way, invite you to his cult, and you are none the wiser. You are just eating it up out of the palms of his hands. He's doing it with a smile on his face. It's so preposterous that you can't help but love it. And he's kind of dictating this entire thing to the point where Aubrey says as much. She says, I think Coach is running this entire game. I got to go talk to him. I need to get in his good graces because I think Coach is running this stuff. And Coach says in his confessional, I'm giving Aubrey a lifeline. I'm throwing her a lifeline. I want to play with her, which I think is literally just rooted in the fact that she came to him, right? This is typical Coach. If you feed into his ego, you're immediately higher on his pecking order of people he wants to work with. So a lot to dive into here, but Theo, where do you go with this Coach thing? Because to me, watching this live, I was like, I can't believe he's doing it again.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it's the Godfather thing all over again. Just we're only getting it around camp. Like I'm ready to see it. Like when people are ready to go home, I'm ready to see Coach drive some votes. Ready to see him be a man of honor. But yeah, he's been a great ride with Coach so far.
Coach called himself the Tide Walker in this episode. That wasn't on my big
Mike, you know what else he called himself? He said he insinuated that he's the second most honorable person to ever play Survivor because he said that only Joe is more honorable than him, which insinuates again that he's the second most honorable person to ever play the game.
It's unbelievable. By the way, I never thought we would see Philip Shepard, his strategy again on Survivor, but Philip Shepard in Karamoan, with the Stealth R Us pre-merge alliance, giving everyone nicknames. You are the Enforcer. You are we have gotten that again in Survivor 50, 24 seasons later. It's absolutely hilarious. It feels like we did this already with him and Coach Coach, Joe, and Colby and the OGs. But I think for the editing thing, we had to get the names in there. Like they had to resurface it to get the names in because that just puts it over the top of how hilarious this whole thing is. Chrissy, we didn't see her in the episode, but he also named her. Another one of she's not an OG, but she's an older player. So these older players are all getting together. And then, I think the big thing here was with Aubrey. So Aubrey's approaching Coach, and she's kind of on the bottom. It's perceived. The only thing we know of Aubrey right now is that she's working with Tiffany. But Coach, being the social butterfly that he is this season, it's like everyone wants to work with Coach. So now I guess Aubrey's in with him too. So Coach is working with what? Is that 5 people now in this tribe of 7 that he's good with? I mean, is Tiffany the only person that we have not seen a conversation with Coach with? I mean, that's the only person I can think of.
I mean, we haven't seen her conversate with like anyone. So
right.
I mean,
besides Aubrey, we have not seen her literally have any conversations. So maybe that is it.
And that came out of thin air. That felt like, what was that, 2 weeks ago that came up? And that felt like a thing just to drive this forward. Like we just needed that at some point to get here where Aubrey's talking to Coach and is like, yeah, I'm good with Tiffany. Like, I guess we had to figure that information out at some point, right? So that felt half-baked as well, back to the editing point. But I think the best part of Coach right now is just the fact that he hasn't really totally committed to anyone besides Joe and Colby, but it feels like every person he encounters he's just good with. Because not to mention, obviously Charlie's voted out now, so he can't use that connection, but D felt pretty good with Coach. That they seemed to, be talking decent to each other, even though D kept calling him old. But I think she was still endeared by his charm. He was really good with Jonathan. It seemed like Camilla loves him, right? So it feels like pretty much everyone he's encountered is drinking the Coach Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he had a handshake agreement with Jonathan. I was going to say, I know he's good with Joe and Colby, but we saw on the that made the edit. Him and Jonathan's handshake agreement. So Coach is aligning himself with the people that you would assume Coach would align himself with, which is the strong, buff, honor and integrity, loyal men that we have. He always been preaching. He's been preaching that since Token Jeans. So I mean, again, we'll see if this. Right now, I'm having fun with it. For the pre-merge standpoint, I think he's Coach is the show. It's social game right now for Coach. It's all about relationships, and he's doing a good job.
This Coach honor and integrity thing has to end horribly, right? Like, I am so ready because he's going to survive it longer than Colby and Joe. Like, we just know that's going to happen. So at least one of the two, right?
One of them, yeah.
So one of them is going to be out and be so mad, like so mad that coach spurned them. I am like so looking forward to that.
100%.
I'm drafting ways it's going to happen in my head each week. I'm like, how is coach going to screw over Colby royally? And then we're going to see the Tyson edits where during Heroes versus Villains, he said that coach demasculated Colby. We're just going to get a TikTok edit of that and coach doing all these poses and Colby getting his torch snuffed. Like, I can just see it now.
It's like minus 1,000 for coach to betray one of those two, and then the other one that remains to be like absolutely going scorched earth on coach and blowing up his whole game.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how
apoplectic for sure.
Yeah, 100%. But right now, it's interesting because he's working with people that are all about honor and integrity. But ultimately, we know coach is going to have to snip one of them, and the aftermath to that is going to be absolute theater.
Well, the great thing about the two people he's working with is they have no reads on anything. So he's kind of free to do whatever he wants under the guise of honor and integrity.
Right now, he is. But I think, and I'll say the same thing that I said with Stephanie, I think Colby's got some relationships on Vatu. I thought Colby did a pretty good job those first few days integrating himself. I know he doesn't have a vote, but right now he still has not gone to tribal council yet. Neither is coach. So we'll see once you have to hit, once the pen hits the parchment, we'll see where everyone's at. But I think there's a way where Colby can link up with people that are more than just coach and coach's gang of stealth RS members. But right now, he's working with people who are playing coach's game, which is of course where coach wants to be at right now.
So how about Colby putting his hand up to sit out of the challenge today?
Sit
I
out
could
for
not
Colby.
believe that.
For Colby Donaldson to sit out. Never thought I'd see the day.
Guys, his foot hurts. Come on. He thought it would get better because usually when you're in the wilderness and you hurt yourself, you just heal magically without ailments and stuff of that nature. But
he's got 15 days to rest that foot for the end of this game. I mean, we got 26. We're on
yeah,
day
good
11.
luck with that.
I know. 15 more days, Colby. Can you grind it out? Can you Iron Man this thing out for 15 more days? I don't know.
Before we talk more about the challenge, I want to harp on the editing one more time here. This Genevieve Aubrey thing has to have an amazing payoff, right? Because this is the Cold War at this point. This is just the never-ending story. It's just every week we're saying the same things over and over again, where it's like, the beach is not big enough for the two of us, and I wish we could work together, but we just simply can't coexist because we're just too big of personalities, and it's just never going to work, and I wanted to work with her so bad, but she just simply didn't feel that way about me, and it just feels all theater and nonsense, and I want it to be good so bad, but I feel like because we built it up so much, it just simply cannot match up to the hype.
It won't. It definitely won't. I think right now it just won't. I mean, right now all they're showing is all they're showing us is that rift right now because again there is nothing else to show.
Mike, by the way, not a lot of substance to this rift either.
It's just all no. It's like they're like, okay, this is what we have. We're gonna keep drumming you over the head with it for 4 episodes until they finally lose the challenge and go to tribal council. Because all we know right now, Aubrey and Genevieve have not lost the challenge yet, so this has not been resolved yet.
If
But
there's a
they're just trying to
swap,
say that this is foreshadowing.
what if there's a swap and this just dies? Like that almost can't happen. Like it feels
Can't
like
happen at this point.
they're
No,
gonna they're gonna have to keep them together just because of how they built this up. But yeah, I don't know where we're going.
It's gonna be a paper airplane landing. It's at this point. It's like they built it up. It's gonna be like whatever.
It's a lot of show don't tell. Like, we understand there's a rift there, but it literally stems from one conversation, and then we just haven't got much else after that. Like, we've seen Genevieve go around and tell everyone Aubrey's a threat, but we don't really know why they don't like each other so much. Again, it's literally from this one conversation. Maybe that's what did it. Maybe that's all that happened. I just feel that's so hard to believe with the conviction both these women have about the other.
Well, she also caught her looking for an idol, which, I mean, again, Genevieve just found the idol.
What a sin.
I know.
Oh, no.
By the way, Genevieve herself had already found one at this point, and then like 5 minutes after catching Aubrey looking for one, she finds another one. So it's like, oh, how dare you look for an idol, but that makes you not trustworthy. I think this is Genevieve just looking at herself in the mirror and being like, I can't trust myself. So I'm looking at Aubrey looking for idols, which I've found 2 of them, and I can't have this girl on my beach. And they're just ringing that true to us right now. They're like, this is what they want us to see. This is what they're showing us. Genevieve cannot trust Aubrey. The beach isn't big enough for the 2 of them. They told us that like 17,000 times. So ultimately, we get it. One of them's going to go home when they first make a tribal. When they first go to tribal council, they're voting for each other. It was the same thing with the Charlie Rizo thing. They were just beating our head with it. It's like, yeah, these 2 don't trust each other for the reason that Charlie mentioned. But for this, it was just like one conversation and then, a couple idol hunts, and that was it.
Well, they just keep having weird conversations. Like they were both on that blanket today at tribal or at camp, like laying down. I don't remember what was it, but it was just weird vibes. And usually I feel like a beef like this after like 5 days, they'd be like, you know what, like been hanging out a lot with Aubrey, and I see a lot of myself in her, and I feel like I could actually work with her. Like usually those stories on Survivor kind of like have twists and turns, but this has just been like they had one weird conversation at the beginning, and now they're just being weird to each other, and then that's it, and we
Well,
assume it's building to something.
especially when you're safe so many times. Like that's what we said with Suri. It's like, okay, this person might want Suri out now, but if they're safe time and time again, a few episodes later, maybe these people are working together, and then it's like, you know what? This person's actually not so dangerous. I'm going to work with them now. Like there usually is a tune, a change of emotion there, a change of tune. That has not been. We have gotten 5 episodes of Aubrey versus Genevieve, Cold War style, and it's not going away until one of them is out.
I just don't really understand why they can't work together. I've still yet to figure this out. I feel like they'd be better with each other. I know there's this underlying threat of you don't want to be the one that is turned on. I feel like they're both scared the other one's going to stab them in the back eventually because that's how they play. But it's not really how either of them played. Aubrey kind of was committed to her day one until she was just too volatile. She had to get rid of her. Like, that's a valid excuse. And the same was true with Genevieve. She was good with Rome, and then Rome was just a D-bag, and she had to get rid of him. Like, when they were committed to people, like, Genevieve was good with Sam, and she worked with Sam as long as she possibly could have. And then Aubrey was desperately trying to work with Suri on Game Changers, and that was a little odd, right? That was a weird situation. But I feel like both of these people can be loyal if they tried, and it would be mutually beneficial. Look, I kind of understand they're both like strong, independent women, and I guess they're like fearful that their personalities are just too similar. It's going to clash eventually. I still just think they'd be better working together.
Maybe, but I mean, you saw in Genevieve's season, the second she betrayed Teenie and voted out Keyshawn, her and Teenie were on shaky grounds the rest of the game. We haven't even had a vote off of this one yet, but her and Aubrey are going to be on shaky grounds the rest of the game. It looks like
Keyshawn can't be the reason why you don't work with Genevieve.
Well, for Teenie, it was. Teenie was like, "I'm never."
No, but I mean, clearly for Aubrey it is too, because she's acting like Genevieve is the most dangerous player ever. Which, by the way, Genevieve's awesome. We love Genevieve. Genevieve's one of my favorite players here. But I mean, Christ, she's not like, I don't know. She's not Russell here. Like you could still, see what she's doing in front of you. I don't know.
So I feel like Genevieve, because she kind of had to work by herself for some of the game on her season, now feels like she has to do that again, and like that's who she is. Like we can try to make relationships here.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm with you. Just for Aubrey, it's not happening. This relationship ain't happening for both of them. Really, looks like it's mutual. We're not working together.
Either way, I think there's some real life bad blood between these two, because I think it was our girl Rachel. I don't know if it was IG story or Twitter, some platform where she mentioned that it wasn't like a rivalry. It was just one woman calling another the B word. I don't want to get us demonetized here.
Right.
I swear I saw that from her. So again, another thing that I guess spilled out of the game. But I do want to talk about this comp here because it was kind of fun. It was a good, fun, competitive comp. I can't remember the last competitive comp we've gotten on this season. It feels like even if it's been sort of close, we know exactly who's going to lose at every point. So because this was a double limb and it was only the first team to win was safe, I thought this was really entertaining because we just didn't know. And it was close throughout. I thought Steph, again, really impressive here. Steph's been kind of raising some eyebrows. She beat Charlie in this kind of decisively. And I just really thought that we weren't going to get that from Steph. I thought her days of being a good competitor were kind of in the rearview mirror, but she's been solid throughout all of these comps. Better than Colby, by the way, which I think is kind of funny as well. Besides the carrying the snake portion, Steph's been really, really good. And then Tiffany, welcome to the show. Just whipping through that rope. Jeff made a point. Best rope untire, or however he phrased it, he's ever seen.
He said handling of rope.
Handling the rope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Never been to like bull riding or anything. I don't know. A weird comment from Jeff, but he's a weird guy this season. And then we get the Dragon Slayer. First time on the little grappling hook. Nails the shot. He literally called it too. He's like, I'm fine. And he like readjusted himself. And this was just the perfect ego episode for Coach. He was just feeling himself in every facet. And then eventually we get Joe with all the Sacramento Kings watching, just bucket after bucket here. And Kalo is safe. Shout out to Joe. He was terrible in this for most of it. And then all of a sudden he got the rock and showed up.
It was
little
like that. Yeah,
Maxime Reynaud action there. Just,
no,
bucket after bucket, Mike.
It was Tatum Game 6 against Philly 2023, where it was just like he got them behind it initially.
It's a little more De'Aaron Fox to me, but yeah.
Okay, sure. We'll go Sacramento Kings. But the point is, Joe was gassed in the first portion of that thing. Again, I have to shout out Ozzy. I can't believe Ozzy went unnamed there and the people that we saw in that challenge. Ozzy was ahead of Jonathan in the water portion, who had that on their bingo card, besides me, obviously. But yeah, we get to that ball throwing.
Wait, Jonathan's the size of a house. I think you're underestimating that part. He still beat him, by the way.
Well, through the they had to dig underneath.
Yeah. The whole thing. We're not just cherry picking parts here.
No, but
Ozzy, of course, should beat him at his swim race because he's half his size.
Yeah, well, Ozzy's also 51 years old, or 40, whatever he is. He looks old.
We're just adding 10 years to his age now.
Look, again, Ozzy he looks like he's a grandpa. He's actually not that old. But the point is, Ozzy was very good in this. Ozzy once again for Vatu. Again, Stephanie as well was the Kevin Love of this 2018 Cavs group. But Ozzy was good. Ultimately, it came down to they were all gassed at the end of it. I mean, just tossing the three men, obviously Ozzy, Jonathan, or Ozzy, Jonathan, and Joe did the swim, the water portion of it, and then they had to end the challenge with it's like the hero or the goat role basically. And all three guys were in it at the end. And I think they each needed 2 left. Maybe I think they all needed 2 left, and then Joe got the last 2 in like a very De'Aaron Fox way. But ultimately, shout out to Joe, struggled early, got them behind. Shout out to Tiffany who whipped through that thing and got them back in the challenge, Coach and all the other people. But Joe keeps himself safe again. And the Oats, and you did call this. You did say Jonathan's tribe looked a little bit slower than Kalo. And I was like, okay, we'll see. And then Joe at the end. Shout out to only one of us here likes Joe, but Joe was able to kind of do the hero role and win them this challenge. And they are safe. They are the lone tribe that are safe from this double elimination format episode.
Yeah, someone finally beat Jonathan. I mean, the end, it came down to finesse, not raw strength. But Joe looking like Omri Caspi with that nice touch, laying the bag up. I mean, that guy spent some time at the Golden One Center watching warm-ups, and it really paid off tonight.
Yeah, he was like, I'm just feeling the spirit of Peja in my body right now, and I'm just going to make everything here. I think what's interesting about this was they seemed so content to live and die by their token male challengers here, which I didn't really fully get because Ozzy was not hitting these at all. And no one was like, hey, I'll step in for a second, which I guess is kind of a testament to how bad Vatu is at challenges. But
well, you know why Ozzy wasn't hitting them initially? Because he was probably so gassed by doing the entire first portion of the thing.
100%.
They could have used for this other part of the challenge? I don't know. Q.
Yeah.
Saying this, but can there be anyone else?
D1 athlete Q could have been useful here. But even for Sela, though, Mike, I was a little confused. Devins was so good at the ring toss a few weeks back, and Rizo shown some good hooping abilities last season when he's been in similar shooting situations. I was just confused. They were content with Jonathan kind of running out of gas at the end. I guess it's one of those things where when you have such a comp beast, you just want him to, determine it, and you won't be totally upset if you lose with him being the reason why. But I don't know. I thought that was a little odd.
It's a little odd. It's almost like you don't want to be the one that costs your tribe the win. So if Jonathan loses it, it's like, okay, well, it's Jonathan. We'll live with
he carried
that.
us this entire time.
He's
if he loses, it's whatever.
But if you're the one who cost somebody, it might be like a puzzle or something like that. Serene nearly got herself out the first episode because she blew the claw, whatever it was. I don't know.
The monkey's fist, which apparently was way worse live than it was in the edit of the episode. People there were like, it felt like an eternity how long she was at that portion of the challenge.
It's a 3-hour episode. They could have shown us all of it, but
apparently it was that long. It was so long you couldn't even make the cut.
Well, we need 10 minutes for the name Billie Eilish to be said over and over again. So you got to factor that in.
Yes, that is true. They needed to make room for that. Obviously, the Billie Eilish sponsored idol. But
yeah, Billie was a big part of this episode as well because we've kind of buried the main event here, which is this Rizo Charlie war, which. Again, one of these things that kind of came out of nowhere. At least we had a backstory for this one, which was pretty much Charlie was spurned by the idea that Rizo did not vote for his number one, which, by the way, isn't even true, which I think is the funniest part that no one's really mentioning here.
He voted for
It's
Savannah.
not even true. He was just talking out of his ass because for some reason that none of us understand, Rizzo was trying to distance himself from Savannah once Savannah was already
Already
gone.
out. Yeah.
I don't understand what the point of that was, but regardless, that's what he was doing. And that is what Charlie was so hung up on, which, by the way, we've seen Survivor restart from far less than this, but for it to be literally over something that isn't even true is kind of funny.
By the way, can you real quick? Can you like picture Charlie watching Rizzo's season and being like, "Yo, you did vote for your number one. You just lied. That's the whole origin was untrue because you could have just told me you voted for Savannah, who was your actual number one. Like you could have just told me that. That's what happened. Like I wouldn't have been so anti Rizzo had I known that you were actually a faithful jury member and you actually did vote for who deserved to win the game. Like you could have told me
I
that.
wish I could have watched the
Charlie
finale of 49 with Charlie. I wish I could. Presumably, maybe he didn't even know at that point. He was just being fed this lie the entire time, and no one told him otherwise. And he was just sitting there watching it live, and he's like, "Oh my, what have I done? What
Unbelievable.
have I done?"
No, but it's a legit origin story though. Like that's not like the Aubrey and Genevieve thing was weird, but this was a legit thing that you could have some rift with. Like I understood, Charlie, and I still do. I understood taking that approach of I don't think I can work with this person long term if what they're telling me is true, and they just didn't vote for the person that they were number one with the entire game. Like their number one ally, they didn't turn around and vote for them. Like that would have been not knowing his season at all. And this is another one of the things where it's like somebody goes home because of something that happened that they didn't have any knowledge of. Like they didn't get to watch film on Rizzo. So Charlie's kind of going in blind here. He's like, okay, is he telling me the truth? Is he lying? Regardless, is he trustworthy? I don't know. So I just thought the whole thing was a little bit, again, I got where Charlie was coming from, where it's like, I can't work with somebody who's, but it wasn't even true. Like Rizzo did. It's just the whole thing was weird. But it's still night 11 and Charlie's staying up at night thinking about it. So it's another one of those things with Aubrey and Genevieve where it's like, it's not going to go away.
Charlie too I thought he was set up to have such a good like redemption arc on this season. And like you can hear that information from Rizzo and be like, okay, like I'm not gonna work with Rizzo now. But he just became obsessed. It's the only thing we saw him talk about in his confessionals. And that's just not how you can play this game. You just can't like so obviously be spurned and like go out for blood like that. I don't think that ever works. And it really sunk his whole game that he couldn't just be like, okay, I know this. I'm not going to work with Rizzo. It was like, I know this. I can't be on a beach with Rizzo. I can't look at Rizzo. I can't talk to Rizzo. Like, I hate him. He needs to go. And that was just like the wrong way to handle that. Even like years after his season aired, he's just so bitter and so hung up about it.
Could I make like a partial point as to like, I think that is a reason why he went home, but I think ultimately he like maybe he was so caught up in that he didn't like had he just built some other relationships that he could have before Rizzo did. I think he wins this ultimately. I think there's still a world where he could have blindsided Rizzo with an idol in his pocket and not been so gung ho in getting him out. Like he could have just if he just got to Camilla a little bit faster, maybe Camilla decides to work with him. If he was more lockstep with
No, I think it was more than that, Mike. I really do, because we've seen this before, right? A few examples come to mind, like Cass in season 31. We saw it with Ozzy in 37, where when you come back and you lose in such a specific way, you like hyper fixate on it and you just can't get past it. And I thought Charlie was above that. I really did, because I thought, look, Charlie is on a very, very, very short list of people who really deserve to win their season that didn't. It is such a minute list because most of the time, like jury management is so important. I just simply don't know what Charlie could have done differently to win his season. And I think he got kind of hosed because the other person had a better, like, out of game sob story than him, which I think we can all agree shouldn't determine who wins Survivor. I think, like, these game shows need a criteria on who you should vote for to win. And I think they leave it open-ended for a reason. But if it was a little more buttoned up, like, here is a criteria, this is what you vote for beyond, like, all the stuff that you see with your own eyes throughout the game, right? Charlie wins his season. It's that simple. So because he lost in that fashion, he was just so bitter about it. And I think he kind of took out that aggression on Rizzo here. And look, Mike, the reason I know it cost him, Rizzo's sleeping in a boat, and it's like before the sun has risen. And he knocks on the boat like he's knocking on his front door. He's like, hey, man, did you tell anyone else about Billie Eilish? That's exactly how he phrases it, too. Rizzo's like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing right now? Like, I'm trying to get some sleep. Like, why are you asking me this? And that kind of paranoia is why Charlie went home. I think he was just reeking of paranoia throughout the entire game, and it started with Rizzo, obviously, but I think it was just all the demons from his previous season kind of culminating here before our very eyes, and I think people were just turned off.
Well, that's what I said. I said part of it is he went home because of that, but I don't think that's the entire story. I think that's one reason why he was ultimately went home tonight. But ultimately, these women don't know Rizzo. They don't trust him yet. He could have still made those inroads. They don't. They do not know him. By the way,
They
Charlie,
trust him now.
well, no,
Boy, do
that's
they
not,
trust him now.
Charlie had I think Charlie had 7 days of D all to himself at that Kalo camp. He did not make that connection with D quicker than Rizzo did, who came in 8 days later.
We don't really know that. We didn't see that.
We didn't
right?
see it, but clearly
we
he
didn't
didn't.
see anything.
No, I mean,
but I do think it's weird,
hang on.
Mike.
Well, but
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
know that. We do know that because Dee said in her confessional today, Charlie's sneaky. We may have not seen it, but she didn't trust him from the original tribe. If she's saying, wait a second, I don't like Charlie's game. He's sneaky. I don't want to work with him. She went and took the information to Rizzo on the hammock when they were all talking about, I want to get Rizzo out. Dee was the one who went to Rizzo and said, I want to work with you. It wasn't the other way around where Rizzo's approaching these women. That was not how it went. He did approach Sari.
Yeah, but here's an editing thing, though. This is why the editing sucks. We were just told that Dee wanted to work with Jonathan and form this coalition to get out Sari, which presumably Charlie was a part of. And then all of a sudden, now Charlie's sneaky, which part of this could be because Charlie, again, this kind of reeking of desperation that just was exuding from him. You could see it in his face, how like, paranoid he was and how ridiculous he was acting. So perhaps it just got so ridiculous that Dee had to change course and was like, Charlie is sneaky, like we were fine before, but this is just getting out of hand, like you can see it. Maybe that's what it was. Or it was just trash editing and Charlie did some stuff on the other beach that we never got to see. We don't really know. That's kind of my point, where I think, like, for whatever reason, Charlie just cannot be trusted. But Camilla said the same thing Dee said, which was like, it's just getting too much. That's why I think maybe they were making connections on the other beach that we didn't get to see. I just think he didn't give them a choice at this point because he was acting the way he was. I think he kind of put them in a corner.
I'm agreeing. I 100% agree with that. I'm saying there's something we didn't see, whether it's bad editing or not.
100%. No, it's bad editing. We didn't see it, so it's bad editing. We deserve to see it. We have to know the whole story.
The reason why I'm saying and or is because it also could have been Charlie was so hyperfixated that it turned them off. It could have been both of those things. But I'm saying there's no way, to me, if Charlie's as good a player as I think he is, he had 11 full days with Camilla and Dee to make connections that he did with Jonathan. And honestly, Devins too. He didn't have the full amount with Devins, but he had Jonathan, Camilla, and Dee as OG Kalo members on the Sela Beach now. He was in the power position and he pulled in Devin. So the fact that Dee and Camilla flipped on him for Rizzo, who they know nothing about, to me, either he had to have done something sloppy, which again, maybe knocking on Rizzo's boat door was what turned them off. But to me, he could have still done that. And that I agree was a bad gameplay to approach Rizzo and say, hey, did you talk about Billie Eilish or anybody else? I thought what he could have been doing is just spending more time building the connections with Camilla and Dee. And I think he would have saved himself by just building those relationships. Because ultimately, Rizzo can approach Sari and be like, you want to work together? It doesn't really matter if they don't have the 4. He needed Camilla's vote and he needed Dee's vote, and both of those women had already spent 7 days with Charlie. So how he got those two, I think, is whether it's bad Charlie gameplay, good Rizzo gameplay. We didn't see any of it for the first 8 days to know really the truth. But I thought, Charlie, the rift with Rizzo did not have to come to an end because he was so hyperfixated on Rizzo. He didn't actually have to focus on Rizzo as much as he did, in my opinion. All he had to do was focus on the 4 people that he came into this tribe swap already on the beach with, which is Jonathan, Camilla, and Dee. If he just had those 3, he's safe, and it doesn't matter unless Rizzo idles him out. None of that happened. His own OG members flipped on him.
I mean, this went so bad for him. I feel like he's almost like has to come back to get redemption for the redemption, where he's like, my first season, like it ended like this. And then the second time I was on, like all I could think about was how I lost. Like, and then he's going to do like this time, like I'm coming in with a clear head. Cause this just went so bad for him. And I don't know. The editing, it made it seem like because he knocked on Rizzo's boat and then kind of like told that lie about Jonathan. And then Rizzo went and told that to Dee. And it seemed like maybe that flipped her. It wasn't entirely clear, but maybe she was like, okay, like Charlie's gaming and he's kind of doing stuff that I don't know about. And Rizzo's cluing me in on this. So maybe I can trust Rizzo more.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. They're not showing us this we don't know if it's chronological or not. That's all I'm gonna say. But had Charlie just gone to D with this information before Rizzo did, because remember, D approached Rizzo on the hammock before this all happened. Then he knocked on Charlie's door, or Charlie knocked on Rizzo's boat door, and then Rizzo approached D with that information. So it was again, the way they showed it was Charlie and D are having no conversations. It's all about talking through Rizzo, basically. They're all talking to each other, but in between with Rizzo is like the bridge. So we didn't see any Charlie and D to really know where that shifted, but if that's what it was, which I told D about it, and that might have been, that might have been what trickled D to go the other way.
I feel like we're leaving something out, though, which is kind of critical. Look, it was equal parts masterstroke, equal parts sloppy. So, kind of did everything he could in a way to flip this back on him, though. It somehow worked in his favor, but he was really playing with fire here, where he is kind of hyping up how well he did on 49 indirectly by saying he made it super far and that Jeff did the Riz God thing, which these are veteran players. I feel like they have to know he wouldn't just do that for anybody. Clearly he had to be enamored with a player to kind of scoop to that level, if you will. And then furthermore, he's also talking about how, he feels great right now. He feels like he's in a great position. He's openly saying this to everyone else, and he's mentioning the idol to all these people as well. He's like, I didn't want to mention this, but, I got a Billie Eilish in my back pocket, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And somehow, some way, they're eating it up, and the only person that is kind of turned off by this is Camilla somehow. Cerie's eating this up. I think that was the most shocking thing, where Cerie's like, yeah, Rizzo's saving my life in this game. I'm like, that's an odd way to...
Not only that, not only that, she does something that she never does before. She tells him information. She doesn't do that. She tells him that Ozzy won the extra vote. I'm like, wait, Cerie never does that. Why would she do that?
No, she does it to Riz God, and the only one kind of stopping in her tracks is Camilla. She's like, wait,
this doesn't sound right.
So you're... and hold on, I need to mention this point, too, before we get to that. Rizzo concocts this bizarre life for no reason that
Kyle.
on his way out, Kyle, he was shot in war. He's like, oh, but before I go, I need to tell you, please, when you look up Camilla, please work with her for me. Huh? Well, what? You were with him for 4 days, and then he's laying it on so thick. He's like, yeah, Kyle felt like an older brother. You knew him for less than a week.
48 hours.
What are you talking about? How much of a connection could you have possibly made with this person? Camilla, she was already kind of turned off before this. Now she's like, what the hell is going on? What is being fed to me right now? And apparently, she was just content with it. She's like, yeah, okay. I know you're kind of full of shit, but you're Riz God, so I'm going to work with you. How does he keep getting away with this?
His charm over the old school players has to be one of the most shocking things of the season. The fact that Colby went from despising him to saying that he reminded him of himself in a 2-hour span, it seemed like. And then Cerie is just giving him information, wants to work with him. I think that was her who audibly chuckled at one of his jokes during Tribal. So she's digging Riz God. It's very, very surprising that these older players are eating him up the way they are.
I think Cerie at this point will eat out of anyone's hand just for one vote. Cerie is the
Mike, this felt more than that, didn't it?
No. Oh, I don't think that her
fake.
Rizzo, I don't think that this Rizzo and Cerie shelf life is going to go as far as people think. I really don't. I think Cerie is cool with this. I think Cerie is like, hey, it ain't me, Rizzo. Whatever you're selling, I'm buying. I'm buying all of it.
Mike, I got to disagree. I feel like Cerie's the master of a confessional, and maybe they're hiding it. Maybe that's what the editing is doing. They're trying to make us believe this is going to last, and they're masking that for a later date. But the edit was genuine. The edit was her basically saying this kid's kind of hilarious. This kid's great. I enjoy it. He's saving my Survivor game. This was not I'm manipulating him. I'm using him for as long as I can.
Not right now.
This felt like a genuine, I like this guy.
And I don't buy. I'm not saying that she doesn't like him. I think that she does like him. I don't think that Cerie is. I also think that Cerie will cut him whenever she needs to. I've watched Cerie 5 times now that she can be wooed by somebody and not have any qualms with voting them out 2 tribals later.
Was she wooed by this, though? It was like Parv, and they worked together the entire time.
Amanda, I mean, she's had,
Worked with her the entire time too.
Sarah, she worked with. I mean, no, 100%. She's totally.
She doesn't really cut these people out that she's this enamored with.
Well, she cut Ozzy out.
They
wasn't that enamored with Ozzy.
She was in a Power 5 with Ozzy in Micronesia for like a long portion of the game, and
then got sick of him like very clearly, and was sick of him the entire time. She kept calling him arrogant. She called him arrogant like 100 times and like egotistical.
Well,
it wasn't like
probably
this,
end up
Mike.
feeling that way about Rizzo.
Yes, they are right now.
You would presume she'd feel that way about
everybody. Rizzo's literally telling everybody at tribal council, "I'm arrogant, I'm egotistical." Like he's giving them that impression.
But he does it in a way that is like
endearing,
comedic and endearing. He's like almost. I can't even describe. I've never met anyone like this. I can't even describe it to you.
Yeah,
I'm kind of at a loss for words about it.
Again, in this game, that's fine. But if you want to keep heightening your threat level, you will eventually. If you're going to play with fire, you're going to eventually get burned. And that's when this game, like Coach in his pregame stuff said, "I'm not like this Rizzo
Mike,
guy."
Here's the problem. He said it today. I think he's played 36 of the last 45 days of his life.
Yeah, he's running on fumes.
He's running on fumes. But guess what? It hasn't really even came that close to burning him yet. It really hasn't. He helped run 49. He was in a minority alliance, but he was the one really steering a lot of that strategy, as we mentioned multiple times during the recaps. And so far in 50, people have been like, "Oh, like Rizgod, like he's an unknown." Like that's kind of the only thing against him.
He was one vote from going home.
Only because they don't know who he is. That's it.
I mean, again,
he was able to win over enough votes to get out Charlie, who is like one of the most beloved recent players from like a PR standpoint.
He escaped 4-3, and Camilla does not trust him. She voted with him, and she's like, "I'm not trusting a word this guy's selling, but I also don't trust Charlie." It was like the lesser of two evils. So I don't buy that Rizzo is the coach of this tribe, and they're eating out of the palm of his hands. Jonathan and Devins wanted him out. Camilla does not buy the Kyle sob story, which I don't think I would have bought either.
Mike, she has to buy it again for one more vote, though. They're not going to go to Rocks. They're not going to go 3-3 here.
Well, they're going to go to
she's probably going to link up with him again.
Well, the thing is, they're going to go to 17 people, so we don't actually.
Yeah. I guess we're going to do a super merge, right?
Right.
Yeah,
which by the way, there's been seasons of Survivor with 16 people to start.
I've never seen that. No, I've never seen. But I'm just saying, if Rizzo goes to the beach of 17 people saying how good I was at this game, he's going to go home. Like he's going to get that edit right now, and he's like,
"Oh boy!"
He's so overconfident in himself. This is not 49. You're not playing with Christina.
But why didn't it hurt him today? I can't figure that out.
Well, because Charlie was sloppy today. I think Charlie was again.
I feel like honestly Rizzo was just as sloppy.
Yeah, Rizzo just got with a sloppy gameplay, was still in a majority, and now still has an idol in his pocket and is working with Sari, who has an extra vote. Like he's objectively in a very good place in the game, no matter what you think of how he's played.
I think Sari's in a much better place with him, but. By the way, I just saw Rizzo with an idol. He didn't use it like the entire time, like until he had the very final 5.
That's how he got to the end, though. He was kind of masterful.
With kind of like a clown show of a cast. I mean,
he lost in fire, Mike. He literally lost the entire game because of fire. Like, right. I mean, come on.
Right now, so as of the airing of today's episode, there was 19 people left. He's already told. Can you get a count for me? How many people have told
Here we go.
idol about? He's told. Does everyone on Vatu know at this point, or somebody willed it to him? So Aubrey, obviously, or no, not Aubrey. Who willed? Genevieve knows. So Genevieve willed it to Rizzo.
Mm-hmm.
So Genevieve knows he has an idol. He's already told Sari.
Stephanie knows.
Stephanie knows, of course. He's told Sari, Charlie, D. Did he tell anybody else? Did he tell Camilla? I think he did too. I think he told her about Billie Eilish. Yeah. So everybody knows about his idol, and there's what 17 people left.
Well,
he wants people to know.
Stephanie doesn't know, Mike. Stephanie doesn't know. Stephanie knows about the other one. Not
when
one.
Stephanie will know when they merge at 17.
As soon as they meet up again.
Yeah.
I don't know though, because Genevieve said she didn't want to tell anyone about this. She wanted to keep this for herself. So I don't know.
She may have to. I don't know at this point. Genevieve, if Coach gets wind of it, if anyone gets wind of it, this season so far has been information is out there. No one's keeping anything to themselves at this season. Because he didn't keep his own extra vote to himself. No one's keeping anything to himself. So
and whether it's pre-gaming, Mike, or it's just everyone's doing it, so you can't necessarily pick one person out, it hasn't totally mattered quite yet.
Well, it's Emily-itis. Everyone wants to tell everybody everything right now in this season, and I think it's going to eventually burn people. Like the people who are keeping their cards close to the vest are who's going to succeed in the end. Like right now, this is all fun pre-merge stuff, but if you're going to keep telling people how
who's doing that, Mike? Who's keeping their cards close?
Well, right now, nobody. But not everyone has gone to tribal council. Right now, no one's gone to tribal council. I think again, My guy Rick Devens has not let anyone in on the fake idol play yet, so maybe we'll get to that.
When there's however many people on the beach in the next episode, like people knowing you have an idol isn't always bad because they're like, oh, we could get Rizo out. Oh, he has an idol, and then his name moves to the bottom of the deck, and they try to vote out one of the 8 other people that are like able to be voted out. Like it's kind of a good way. People knowing you have an idol like can be a good way to stay in the game.
Theo, you know when it was good? Season 49,
Yeah,
when he
season
did it the
49 was
entire
good.
time, when that is literally the logic that proceeded to the point where he lied about his expiration, which is so BS, and somehow they still bought it. Now, granted, this
That
is a
cast
much
sucked.
more intelligent cast, but I still kind of see what you're saying. I could see a world where they keep him around a little bit too long, where they're like, yeah, we don't want to get him out quite yet. Like, he's in with too many people. Like, we don't want to tip him off. And then by that point, he's just so ingrained with the cast. Like, I don't know. He could just kind of skate by.
I first of all, I don't think he's going to play that way too. So the way I'm saying, floating your idol around everybody and thinking it's going to work again like it did in 49.
I don't necessarily
he'll do it.
think he'll do it that way again.
He just got
I
three
would
votes
be
against the
pretty
tribal council.
surprised if he did it that way.
He's
again.
eager to be the GOAT too, so there might be a chance he might try to make a move too big, too quick, since he's trying to be the Survivor GOAT.
Mike, hold off. I need to touch on this. So we did get a confessional, Rizo, where he mentions that he wants to be the GOAT of Survivor. And he's made a few comments throughout this episode about like his legacy in the game. And he's only played like 1.25 seasons here, but he's never been voted out. So there's that. And he's been pretty great so far. I want to look big picture, Mike, with Rizo here. Whatever he's doing, granted, you don't think he's in the best position here. It's still working, though, for now. 5 episodes in, and throughout 49, it's still working. My question to you is, how does this still work? Because I feel like if it were me, and granted, we're on the couch. We're not there. I feel like Rizo is so goofy. And he's so ridiculous. I would personally think that it was a front. And it's not necessarily a front. Like, I think he is kind of this goofball in real life. Like, I think that's legit him based off, like, everything we've seen of him. But I'd still be intimidated by the fact that he is likable, he is funny, he is a little bit ridiculous. That by you not taking him seriously, that is exactly what he wants. And I feel like we haven't really seen an archetype like this in quite a while. We've seen some people kind of try to lower their threat level or go throughout the seasons where they're like, yeah, like, I'm this really buff guy, but I'm not going to, show out in all these comps. Like, I'm going to try to take a backseat a little bit. We've seen stuff like that, but we haven't seen the Rizo method where he's trying to lull you socially, but at the same time, he is so brash with his actions, and he has such a bravado with them, and such like an oozing of arrogance. It is so bizarre, but again, it's working again. So what do you make of all of this?
It's working right now, yeah, for sure. I think he's a great character. I don't think he's a great player yet. Right now, I think this is a great character, but
you don't.
No.
You don't think he's
no,
a great
no.
player yet?
No, I mean, I think Kim is a great player. I don't think Kim is a great character. I think she's a generational player. She had people eating out of the palm of her hands. But Rizo right now is almost like, I'm such a good player. Great players don't do that. Great players don't say, I'm such a good player. He even mentioned Amanda's success playing back-to-back, Russell's success playing back-to-back.
My God.
I would not, if I was a good player, I would not want to be comparing myself to other legends of the game. Like, not right now.
Yeah, Mike, and that was in regards to players coming back
With
quickly
no.
after their first season. And I texted when he said that. I thought the easy thing to do was say, at first, these players had great success, like Amanda Kimmel, like
Malcolm.
Russell Wright,
Yeah.
and like Malcolm. But, and here's the big but, recently, we've seen that trend go the other way, where Edge of Extinction, all the returning players stunk, for lack of a better term. And then Winners at War, a lot of returning players stunk again. Recently, we've seen that kind of be a little bit detrimental and wasn't great for these players' games. I thought it was that easy. And then even this season, you got rid of Savannah, who just played because of that reason. So I thought it would be like this kind of like, counterindicative thing where he could be like, yeah, it started off great, but we're kind of becoming this endangered species when we come back so soon. And I think that bodes well for me because, everyone will think this way about me and you can keep me for a little while and whatever. You could play that card.
He
He was
didn't.
just like, no, we're all great.
I'm trying to
What?
be a legend of the game. No, he was trying to be a legend of the game, which I'm like, whoa, there's 19 people left. I want to minimize my threat level in the early portions of the game. That's normally how people do things. He's taking the opposite approach. That's why I'm saying he's a unique character. This is not a normal way of going about things in a season of this many legends of Survivor. It's very, but I think right now it is working. But I have to see what he's like with everyone on the beach. Like, to me, this would not work with Coach. Like, Coach is not buying the Rizzo woo. Like, Coach's OCs, like the
hold
Joe is not
on.
buying.
It would work with Coach if he incorporated Coach into the madness.
If Rizzo can find a way to build up Coach's ego while also doing this, it'll work.
I
You
don't.
bet.
I honestly, this might be a hot take. I don't think it's a hot take. I think there's no chance of Coach and Rizzo linking up. I think Coach knows what happened with Russell on Survivor season 20, Heroes versus Villains, and why that was ultimately his downfall. He looked past a guy he's never had any tape on. I think Coach wants to be with people who are comfortable with Coach. So Joe, he's seen his season. He knows what Joe's about. He's obviously played with Colby. He's seen all of Colby's seasons. I think Coach wants to be with people that are predictable. And Rizzo is the opposite of predictable. He's unpredictable.
I think you're underestimating Coach's ego, and if Rizzo fanboys over Coach, those walls are coming down.
Yeah, he'll
baby.
be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna mentor this kid."
You bet. You bet.
If
Those
that
walls, it's like Berlin. They're chipping away. It's going to be a live press conference. We're just going.
I'm pretty sure there's 0% chance of that happening, but I'll leave the door open if that does happen. I'll be my job will be on the floor if Coach and Rizzo have a conversation that has them voting together in a voting block.
Theo, I want to get your point on this because I think this is also interesting. We don't get this often where players are kind of talking about their own legacy in history in the game in real time. The last one I can remember fixating on it was Eric in Fans vs. Favorites 2. The way Eric went out was so embarrassing for him, where he gives up the immunity necklace and he just gets got by some of the greats of the game, right? Just terrible way to go out. He comes back and he's like, I thought I was a good player, which I think Eric was before that moment. I thought he was pretty good. But he came back and he's like, I can't let this be my legacy. I need to show that I am good at this game. Like, I need to prove that to myself. And I thought he did for the most part. He got medevaced at the end and, he did pretty well for a returner. But we just don't get it very often. Like, and most of the time when we get it, it's in the Charlie, Ozzy, and Game Changers way, like this sulking manner of like, I'm so bitter from how I went out last time. It's not really productive. It's just like, oh, I want revenge on everyone. Rizzo, again, is more of like trying to be in the moment with this. I'm trying to be a legend in real time. I'm trying to be a great of the game. Don't you think that is kind of losing the plot a bit?
Yeah, I like the point that Rick Devens made about how like Rizzo not watching his own season might leave holes in his game because you don't when you're making moves, like Rizzo does a lot of smart things in every episode that seem good. He also says 1 to 2 things in episode where I'm like, yeesh, like probably wouldn't have said that to that person, probably wouldn't have said that in front of that group. So I feel like if he had watched that and like seen some of those moments, he might have toned it down a little, but in his head, he probably like really does feel like he's this perfect player because he hasn't watched himself play. So I think he's really just like on top of the world right now and really believes that he's playing perfectly.
I think right now he's a volatile player. I think he's good, but I think right now, like you just said, Theo, he's had maybe one too many conversations with the wrong people, saying the wrong thing. In this season of Survivor, that will get you voted out. It didn't tonight because he was able to rally Camilla and Dee. If he's on another beach, maybe he gets got by playing too overconfident and seeing past maybe his own weaknesses in this game. So I think right now, certainly there's a long way to go. There's still 17 people left, but I think right now it's a little bit volatile. It's like, there's some good and some bad, and he's got an idol, which is nice. That was given in by Genevieve. So we'll see what he does with that. But right now, the conversations he's having, there's some great ones, and there's some ones where I'm like, ooh, that could get you out of this game.
Mike, I think what's interesting is there's like this foundation of a really, really good player there. But there are so many moments that just leave you wondering, like, this guy's a super fan? What? Like, he watches this all the time? Like, and he's doing this? I think that's what's so weird because I think we were his biggest, I wouldn't say supporters, but we were like kind of raising the Rizzo flag as like this is the guy who's really driving 49. I think Savannah deserved credit for sure, but I think Rizzo was the one kind of in the trenches more than Savannah was for a lot of the strategic acclimate last season, where he was the one kind of bridging gaps and getting, especially like Sage somehow on his side, where Sage just kind of had her walls down because Rizzo was that charming, and same with Jawan as well. So I think there's something there with this kid. I really do. I think there's like a great player there. I just think he needs to tone it down a little bit. And if he's able to tone it down a little bit, maybe with the tutelage of D and Sari, a great winner, probably the best of the new era, and then the best to never win. If he's able to kind of sulk knowledge from those people, I think he's in a really, really good place.
If that's a legit 3, I would be much more into Rizzo's game long term. I just think he's right now he's such a volatile player that the more this game goes on, you don't want to be attached to a player like that. Like I think you'd rather be with somebody else.
Yeah.
Personally, again, there's a lot of people left in this beach that have their own flaws and have their own strengths for sure. But right now, it's like there's so many voting blocks to where it's what could happen right now could be. Again, D and Sari. D wanted Sari out 2 episodes ago. Then we had Zach Brown, and now it's like, oh, D, Sari, and Rizzo. It's like, this is the final 3. It's like, why?
Do you think Sari was like, oh my God, I wish I could hear chicken fried? And D's like, oh, okay, like we're good again. We're back.
You like Zach Brown. It's like, how did that, when did it happen? So 2 episodes from now, it could be a totally different thing where it's like, Christian and Rizzo, who saw this happen? I don't know. There's so many things that can happen right now.
Well, Mike, they haven't seen 49, but Rizzo has never technically in his Survivor life kind of veered away from his OG alliance. He was loyal with Nate till the end. He was loyal with Savannah to the end. He was loyal to Blue Sophie to the end. We haven't really seen him turn on anyone that he himself was committed to the entire time. I think that's also interesting.
He only turned on Jawan after Jawan turned on him.
Exactly.
So right now, like if you look at it, Devins and Jonathan voted against him. They didn't turn against him necessarily, but that's one of those where it's like, I'm interested to see a conversation back at camp with him and Jonathan or him and Devins. Like, how do they is there damage control? I don't think you really have to. It was a blind side. They were left out of the vote. But who are they scorned by? They scorned by D and Camilla for flipping. They can't be scorned by Sari, obviously. But Rizzo is kind of the maestro of this thing. He wants to be the maestro. He wants to be the one in control, making the decisions. Ultimately, I'd rather be the person, behind. I'd rather be the person who does not have the gun. Basically, that's what I'm saying. I'd be the person behind him making the decisions, but not with all the blood on my hands.
Theo, I think it's going to be D who catches the flack here because she's the ex-winner. She's the one who presumably turned. I like that D is trying to play her own game. I think this is going to cost her, though. I don't think this was good for D, which we haven't really brought up yet, because I think if she stayed with the ex-Kalo folks, I think she was in a decent place, but she was so caught up by not wanting to do what Charlie and Jonathan did. Again, we don't know why. It seemed like that just came out of nowhere that she had that epiphany. But I just think if she stayed with them, she could have blended into the foliage a little bit better, and that would have been best for her game. By being so proactive like this, it's, oh yeah, D won by doing moves just like this. We're going to have to get her out.
Yeah, I think the edit kind of like made it seem like Camilla was like the flip, the swing vote, but yeah, D did go first and is the bigger threat, the bigger target here. I wonder, yeah, like can Camilla, is she in a place where she could now go back and forth? Like, could she still vote with Jonathan and with Rick in the next vote, and then maybe they bring, I don't know, bring someone else in and get D out? Like
I would have more confidence in Camilla's ability to do damage control than I would with D. I thought that D, in the things that we did see, D and Jonathan were like this. They're the challenge beasts on this season. Obviously, Jonathan is his challenge beast in his own right, but D is literally on MTV's The Challenge. Like, she's a very good competitor. So I thought if she was into, like, her and Jonathan look like the 2 competitors linking up. We saw them on Kalo discussing strategy. We saw them on this new Sela Beach discussing strategy with the Sari thing. So I thought, from what they showed us, the editing standpoint, that her and Jonathan were close. So I think you're right, X, in the fact that she left them in the dark. So she turned. The editing made it seem like Camilla was the swing vote, but from what we saw on the original Kalo tribe, D was the one we saw more of. We didn't see any of Camilla really on that original beach. So I thought that D was more in line with a Charlie and a Jonathan, and she obviously blindsides Charlie, but you still got to do damage control on a Jonathan. So I think that D's going to have an uphill battle, kind of regaining his trust. We saw Christian wasn't able to do it with Ozzy, really. So we'll see what D has up her sleeve.
Don't think Jonathan can compartmentalize this either. I think what's going to happen is Jonathan's going to be gung ho to get out D. And I think, by the way, kind of an easy sell. Hey, she's a winner. She just made this big move. We're going to have to get her out. No one wants her to win again. If she gets far, if she's in the final 3 spots, I guarantee you she's going to win again because that's just what happens. That's the precedent in Survivor. So, yeah, I like what she was trying to do, which is play her own game and branch out and show that, like, if she's going to win again, it's going to be under her terms. But I think sometimes you have to be passive, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think sometimes that is part of playing Survivor, where if you are a big threat, the best thing you can do at times is sit in the driver's seat or get away from the driver's seat, excuse me. Sit in the passenger seat. Get away from the driver's seat. Don't steer the car. Just kind of sit back, relax, play the tunes, control the aux, and just do what you want to do. I think that's the problem with Dee, is that she wants to be in the driver's seat. She wants to be in control at all times because she is this kind of dominant personality.
Yeah, I think for her, what I would do is I would lay low. I would be passive. If I'm a huge threat on that beach, I would be doing what Sarita's doing, which is just laying low and just existing right now. Dee is a much more aggressive player. She wants to play in the driver's seat. She wants to be the one controlling things. So she doesn't want to just go along with everything, which is what Jonathan and Charlie were going to do. But, this is how Dee is. Dee's an aggressive player, and I think that she's a fun player to watch. What her shelf life in this game is, I don't know, because if she's going to keep having to, pull off some blindsides here and there. I mean, she is in Rizo's camp now. Rizo, Camilla, and Suri. I would assume of the 4, she's going to get a majority of the blowback. So we'll see how she's able to. She hadn't really had to deal with that in other season. While she was blindsiding people, she was in a powerful alliance to where they were all kind of. It's like you can't really pick off D at that point. She's got the numbers. With this, I mean, there's 17 people left on the beach now, but just for the people that she did already scorn, she has to kind of do some damage control, and we'll see how good of a player she really is. I think she's obviously an awesome player. She won, but we'll see how good she is in this season.
Because what is the justification she can come up with for voting out Charlie that's going to appeal or make sense to a Jonathan?
He was too obsessed with Rizo. He wasn't thinking clearly, and it was bringing us all down with him.
Yeah, but even with Aaron, if I'm Jonathan, I'm like, okay, well, are you fully with Rizo now? Because he's unpredictable.
Yeah, I think that's her only play, but I don't even think that's going to go over that well.
Because he would have been we could have just eliminated Rizzo, and then we could have gotten Charlie.
Yeah, then Charlie would have been fine, and he was better for us anyway, because we like Charlie.
I just think it makes Dee look as sneaky as someone like a Charlie. I think it makes her look.
Yes.
I think it makes her look even more threatening than she already was, which she was obviously threatening. But now, if I'm Jonathan and I have if I'm Devins too, I'm like, man, Dee is. And again, Devins was the person pregame who said, if there's anyone on this beach that I'm scared of, it's Dee. He was the person that she was the person that he said he was most afraid of in the pregame. Obviously, things changed. We're on day 11 now, but that was she's even more threatening now than she was 11 days ago.
Sitting at the 3 or 4 spot, and that alliance would have actually been good for her game until later in the game.
100%.
Exactly right. I totally agree.
Because she could have threw Jonathan in front of her. She could have had Charlie, who people I think consider like a winner adjacent, in front of her, and she could have kind of steered from the back and done it that way. Instead, she's trying to be in the forefront again, and I just don't really like that. But Mike, did we miss anything here? Anything else?
Yeah, I was just we didn't see anything of her and Camilla together. I thought the edit would portray them as the swing votes. They could go either way. They didn't really. They almost did it separately. I thought, if I'm a D fan, I would want her to be in with Camilla to where they can shift either way. They can flip flop together if they want to, go back and forth. Like if Camilla doesn't really trust Rizzo and they weren't to merge next episode, then D and Camilla being in the middle can kind of pick and choose where they want to go. They didn't edit it like that, so I'm like, okay, does D have the relationships that I thought she did? Because again, Camilla was on her original tribe, as was Charlie, as was Jonathan. But we haven't seen any competitions really of her and Camilla, unless I'm missing them. Did we see anything of Camilla and D together in this episode, or was it all through Rizzo?
The Camilla edit is weird, especially given her story on her season was all wrapped around a relationship with another person, and they're kind of making it seem like she doesn't have any working relationships in the game.
She's kind of incredibly important and barely shown at the same time. It's very weird what they're trying to portray with her, and I don't understand. It kind of harps back to our point where we're like, if this is the case, I would have just rather had her on a different season where she could have shined because she's that good. I think she has a mind for this game that is kind of lost in the new era.
I'm with you. I just think that we haven't seen any of Camilla's relationship. All we know is now she's kind of half in Rizzo's camp, but she's also got her blinders on of like, how much is this information true? But with her original tribe, like, yeah, you're right. We talk about Dee's blowback, but what's Camilla's damage control going to be with Jonathan? What's Dee's damage control going to be with, we have to see how that's going to work too, because this was a blindside. So I
It
don't
didn't
know.
even ever feel like she was that in with them, though. She was just
Didn't.
kind of like a number from the original tribe. So that's why, like, we just don't know where she's like. Does she even need to do damage control? Or
Maybe
like,
not. No, if the edit's correct, she won't have to, because she wasn't really in with them anyways.
I think the biggest issue with this cast of this size is just getting all the story straight for each individual person. I think it's just impossible to portray in like 90-minute episodes. Like maybe if each episode was 2 hours, which would be a lot, obviously, maybe we could get the full picture, but the way it's currently constructed is just kind of impossible. But before we go here, I do want to do a stock up, stock down, but I want to focus on the stock down element of it because I presume next week maybe a triple elimination. We'll stick with 2 just in case. I think there has to be at least 2. So let's go the next 2 boots here. We'll start with you, Mike. Give me the 2 people you think are most likely to be next out of here.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. By the way, you almost sniped both of them tonight if Christian was to go home.
I know.
It's so tough to do this with a merge on the horizon though. Like you really just don't have any idea.
Air quotes merge, like that's what it said, but like there's no
Right.
way, right?
Of course. Again, I guessed Emily last time. I could. At this point, I think Christian's more likely to go before Emily. At this point, that's just kind of what. Like no one really trusts Christian. But again, if he can link back up with Devins and Serene, you never know. There's still shelf life for him. I would guess. Like, I don't think he's going to go home, but my stock down will be Jonathan because right now there's no more tribal immunity. Like right now he is free to be taken off right now if they are moving to the individual portion of the game. But I'm gonna say D will be the next boot. If I had to guess, D will be the next boot.
if the tribes stay the same, like I don't think Christian's in a great spot. I think if we get some type of a twist, how many times can Flippin play with fire? I almost feel like if she meets up with new people, she's gonna go back and forth. I could see them coming together and being like, she's easy vote, get her out of here. Just the way she's playing is too chaotic.
Yeah. By the way, if it is a double, I'm gonna stick with Genevieve. I think I did Genevieve last week. I just think that Genevieve, again, probably gets screwed by an idol of some sort.
Kind of boring. I'm going to agree with you wholeheartedly. I think D is screwed. I think D's stock also is off the market. It crashed that much after hours. I think it was a decent attempt at something, I guess, but it was just not the right time to do so. And I think she just put herself in a way worse position because she's so threatening. And doing a move like this is only going to make that more prominent to everyone else. By the way, like I mentioned, it's just such an easy vote. It's like a unifying type of vote because you could say she won before. She's playing hard. And she really is only super connected with Rizzo. So it's not like you're pissing that many people off, too. So it's like we have to get D out of here. So I think D is in trouble, especially if we kind of get like a 17-person mega merge or something of that nature. And then the other person I'm kind of eyeing right now is Genevieve because of the war with Aubrey. I think with Coach linking forces with Aubrey, I think that's kind of the natural reoccurring thing that we're going to keep seeing is like, who's Coach going to go after this week? I think he's going to run kind of the merge part of this game. And I think because of this new relationship with Aubrey, that's going to be Genevieve at first. And I think it's easy to rope someone like Jonathan in on that, and we'll see who else he can kind of put together for a vote like that. But I completely agree with you. I think it's D and Genevieve, which is unfortunate. 2 great women, but I think they're in a tough spot. And if I had to choose a man, I would probably go Christian because I think his game has just deteriorated the last few weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Genevieve, she does have the pros of linking back up with Colby and Stephanie, who were kind of dispersed onto other islands. So she does have that going for her. But ultimately, it doesn't look like it's good. Anywhere else, it doesn't look like it's good. Like, she doesn't really have that many connections on other beaches. She's the only person from 46 on the season. So there's not like a pre-existing relationship that she could have. Maybe we don't know, but, for the pre-game alliances, I don't think that she has those. So, yeah, it looks like if Aubrey's in Coach's corner, then it does not look like it's good for Genevieve.
Anyone you feel better about, Mike?
I mean, do I just wave my Cerie pom-poms? I just think Cerie's, she just keeps floating by. No one's saying Cerie's name right now. That could easily change. You never know how quick in this game things can change. But I think Cerie's, She's linking up with people who I never thought she would link up with. I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that Suri and Rizo would be having conversations on the hammock. She's working with Ozzy this season, so she still has that when they link up on the beach. Devins, she's still with him on the original Sela members. They're still there. Christian and Emily were Team Suri when we last saw them. We'll see how their relationship is, but Suri's in a good spot, I think.
Can I give you a weird one? You want to know who I think's in a really solid place? No one's mentioned Tiffany. No one knows she's here.
That's good.
How could he be in a better place? And by the way, I think by proxy now, she's in the coach sphere. And I think if you want to work with someone right now, I think Aubrey's a decent person to work with, because I think if we do get like a merge, she's going to find Devins. She's going to find Christian. Are those like deteriorating assets? Maybe. Like maybe that's not exactly who you want to find. But I think Tiffany, who like no one cared about whatsoever, kind of navigating this game. And because we've seen so little of her, I think that means eventually she's going to have a moment. I'm being optimistic here because I want her to have a moment at this point pretty bad, because she's just getting hosed by this edit.
She's not even in the show. I mean, so at this point, she has to have some moment, because right now she's like, where am I in the pre-merge? Nowhere.
Her and Aubrey's like bonding moment was just like looking for shells in the ocean, and then we didn't even get like a confessional about their bonding moment, but like apparently they're working closely together.
Was that also pregame, possibly? Because there's nothing
to be right.
They weren't on the original tribe together. We got nothing. It was just they link up immediately when they're these.
All of a sudden, they're good. It's kind of weird. We talked about this. Maybe it was 10 questions, Mike, or perhaps it was the larger preview draft that we did. We talked about how like there has to be a better way to prevent pre-gaming, and we don't have like the answer for it, but there has to be some like higher NDA penalties or something to prevent this. Or like, remember it came out before that Jeff had like 50 people in mind and he had to whittle it down from that. You literally have the other like 25 on standby, and if the current 25 or whatever the number was, 24, whatever the number was, if those people don't want to play by the rules, you're out, and one of these other people is in. And like maybe Cherie and Colby and Jenna Lewis could have tested that a bit, but I don't think someone like Aubrey would have. So I think that's your way to prevent it, is like you are just like, hey, if you're not playing by the rules, sayonara.
See ya. Yeah. No, I second that. I completely second that.
Anything else, guys? Any other takeaways from this episode heading into next week? Anything else?
I cannot believe that they're merging at 17. I almost refuse to believe it. I think that the merge is the air quotes we mentioned earlier. I think they're going to merge just to go back to tribes. That's what they're going to do. They're going to get their merge buffs, and then they're going to do an individual immunity, and then they're going to go to 3 separate tribals.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout.
I think my only takeaway is the editing has never been worse in Survivor. I think it is so disjointed. I think it is so convoluted. I think that is a direct result of the size of the cast. And I'm a little sick of Jeff's antics. I thought early on this season, Jeff was buttoned up. He's like, this is 50. Like, I'm back. Jeff's back. We're getting some good questions at Tribal. Tonight, it was, he's doing impressions.
Yeah.
The questions are all towards Rizo and Charlie, which I like sometimes, but I would have liked some other perspective as well. I just,
we didn't get one free question at Tribal Council today.
No, which I thought was a missed opportunity. I would have loved to hear a little bit more from like a Camilla in her place and everything. She, again, barely on the show. So, I just would like her shoehorned in a bit more, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for next week. I think we got back on track, hard not to do after last week's debacle, but I think we're back in a good place. I'm not sure we're on a trajectory for best season ever, but, I'm holding out.
Maybe after Mr. Beast shows up.
That's what I was going to say. Is the merge just the Mr. Beast merge? Only, 16 of you can get to the merge, but we'll call it.
By the way, did we waste all the surprises clip on the kind of like preview of the show, or are we going to get stuff we didn't foresee beforehand?
No, they definitely wasted all their bullets on the Jimmy Fallon. There's no surprise we're getting, I don't think. Unless
that's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, they couldn't hold anything in. They wanted to make sure they marketed all of the actors and the mainstream celebrities on that they could have in the trailer.
Yeah, it bores me. Just bores me. Like give me something to look forward to that I don't even know I'm looking forward to. I can't stand it, man. I just can't.
I'm with you.
But anyway, we are the Gurus. We'll be back next week for another Survivor 50 reaction video. Hopefully in a little bit better spirits than we are right now. March Madness is still rolling on. We will presumably have Final Four content on the way with that as well. We're going to start doing NBA stuff here in the pipeline. And me and Mike have teased a project in the works, so look out for that in the near future. For Theo, for Mike, I'm X. We are the Gurus, and we will see you next time. Peace.